You know, there comes a moment in every person's life when you have to make a decision, not the kind of decision about what to eat for dinner or which car to buy. I'm talking about the kind of decision that changes everything. It's the moment when you stop waiting for someone to give you permission to believe in yourself. It's the moment when you stop looking around for validation and you finally look in the mirror and say, I'm going to bet on me. That's the moment everything shifts. That's when the real work begins. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Self-belief isn't something you're born with. It's not in your DNA. Your parents can't give it to you, though they can certainly take it away. Your teachers can't hand it to you in a classroom. No amount of money can buy it. Self-belief is something you build brick by brick, decision by decision, day by day. It's constructed through the choices you make when nobody's watching. It's forged in those quiet moments when you keep a promise to yourself that nobody else even knew you made. Here's what most people get wrong. They sit around waiting for evidence before they'll believe in themselves. They say, well, when I see some results, then I'll start believing I can do it. But that's backwards. That's completely backwards. Successful people believe first, and then they create the evidence. They believe before they see. They believe when there's no logical reason to believe. They believe when everyone around them is shaking their heads. And because they believe, they take action. And because they take action, they get results. And because they get results, now everybody wants to know their secret. The secret was they believed first. You see, your philosophy is what shapes your life, not your circumstances. Not where you were born, not who your parents were, not how much money you started with. Your philosophy. Your philosophy is the set of beliefs you carry around with you about life, about yourself, about what's possible. And here's the fascinating thing. You can have two people standing in the exact same circumstance, looking at the exact same opportunity, and one will see impossibility while the other sees nothing but potential. What's the difference? Philosophy. What they believe about themselves and their place in this world. I've watched people struggle for years, even decades, not because they lacked opportunity, but because they had poor thinking. Poor thinking keeps you trapped more effectively than any prison cell. Poor thinking makes you blind to the chances right in front of your face. Poor thinking convinces you that life happens to you instead of for you. And the tragedy is that most people defend their poor thinking like it's some kind of treasure. They'll argue for their limitations. They'll give you 100 reasons why they can't. And you know what? They're right. They can't. Not because they actually can't, but because they believe they can't. And belief becomes reality. Let me share something with you from my own life. There was a time when I was 25 years old, broke, with nothing going for me. I had more month than money, more bills than income, and more excuses than ambition. And I remember meeting a man who changed my perspective forever. He asked me a simple question. He said, Jim, how long are you going to keep doing what you're doing? And I gave him some excuse about the economy, about my background, about my lack of education. And he stopped me right there. He said, Jim, the problem isn't out there. The problem is in here. And he pointed to his head. You've got to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. That hit me like a thunderbolt. I realized in that moment that I had been standing in my own way. My thinking was the problem. My beliefs about what was possible for someone like me were keeping me stuck. Not the government, not the economy, not my boss, me. My philosophy was bankrupt, and until I changed that, nothing else would change. Now, here's the thing about belief. There's wishing, there's hoping, and then there's believing. Most people are just wishing. I wish I had more money. I wish I had a better job. I wish my life was different. Wishing is passive. It requires nothing of you. Hoping's a little better. I hope things get better. I hope I get that promotion. I hope my business takes off. But hoping still keeps you as a spectator in your own life. Believing is different. Believing moves you to action. When you truly believe something is possible, you start doing things differently. You make different choices. You take different actions. You persist when others quit. Your current results are nothing more than a mirror reflection of your current beliefs. Show me someone who's struggling financially, and I'll show you someone who doesn't believe they deserve wealth or doesn't believe they're capable of creating it. Show me someone stuck in a dead-end job, and I'll show you someone who doesn't believe better opportunities exist for them. Show me someone with broken relationships, and I'll show you someone who doesn't believe they're worthy of real love. Your outer world always reflects your inner world. Always. And here's what's really dangerous. Self-doubt is comfortable. Playing small feels safe. Staying where you are requires no courage. It's easy to not believe in yourself because then you don't have to try. And if you don't try, you can't fail. And if you can't fail, you can never be disappointed. But let me ask you this, is that really living? Is that what you came here to do? To protect yourself from disappointment by never reaching for anything meaningful? The relationship between what you think is possible and what becomes your reality is direct and undeniable. If you think you can only make $40,000 a year, guess what your income will be? If you think you'll never find the right person, guess what your relationship status will be? If you think you're not smart enough to start that business, guess whether you'll ever start it. Your beliefs create a boundary around your life, and you rarely, if ever, cross that boundary because you don't even see what's on the other side. Here's something else I want you to understand. Most of the limitations you're living under right now aren't even yours. They're borrowed. You inherited them from your parents, who inherited them from their parents. You picked them up from teachers who meant well but didn't know any better. You absorbed them from friends who, out of their own fear, tried to protect you from disappointment by lowering your expectations. Society hands you a script and tells you what's realistic for someone with your background, your education, your circumstances. And most people accept that script without question. But let me tell you something powerful. You don't have to live by someone else's definition of what's possible for you. You can write your own script. You can define your own possibilities. You can believe something different than what everyone around you believes. In fact, that might be exactly what you need to do. The cost of borrowed doubts and inherited limitations is enormous. It's the business you never started. It's the book you never wrote. It's the relationship you never pursued. It's the trip you never took. It's the person you never became. Every day you live beneath your potential because you're operating on outdated beliefs that were never true in the first place. You pay a price. And the saddest part is that most people never even realize what they gave up. They never realized that the cage they lived in had no lock. The door was always open. They just never believed they could walk through it. So here's where it starts. It starts with an honest assessment of what you currently believe about yourself. Not what you say you believe. Not what you wish you believed. What you actually believe, as evidenced by how you're living right now. Are you playing full out, or are you holding back? Are you pursuing your real dreams, or have you settled for something safe and comfortable? Are you growing and stretching, or are you standing still? Because everything is possible, but only if you believe it first. Only if you decide that you're worth betting on. Only if you stop giving your power away to circumstances and other people's opinions. The foundation of everything good that's going to happen in your life going forward is the decision you make right now to believe in yourself, to believe in your potential, to believe that you have something valuable to offer this world. Make that decision. Build that foundation, because everything else we're going to talk about depends on it. Now let me tell you how you actually build this thing called self-belief. Because understanding that you need it is one thing, but knowing how to develop it is something else entirely. And this is where most people get stuck. They want to believe in themselves, but they don't know where to start. They think it's going to hit them like lightning one day. They think they'll wake up and suddenly feel confident. That's not how it works. Self-belief is built through small promises kept to yourself. That's it. That's the secret. Every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and you actually do it, you make a deposit in your self-trust account. Every time you say you're going to wake up early and you do, that's a deposit. Every time you commit to finishing a project and you follow through, that's a deposit. Every time you promise yourself you'll work out and you show up, that's a deposit. Over time, these deposits compound. They build upon each other. And eventually, you look at yourself differently because you've become someone who keeps their word, especially to themselves. But here's what happens with most people. They make promises to themselves and break them constantly. Tomorrow I'll start. Next week I'll begin. After the holidays I'll get serious. And then tomorrow comes and goes. Next week arrives and nothing changes. The holidays end and the same patterns continue. Every broken promise is a withdrawal from your self-trust account. Do that enough times and you go bankrupt. You stop believing anything you tell yourself because your track record proves you're not reliable. How can you believe in yourself when you can't even trust yourself to do what you say you're going to do? So here's what I learned. Start small. Don't make these massive declarations that you can't keep. Don't say you're going to completely transform your life overnight. That's setting yourself up for failure. Instead, make one small promise to yourself today and keep it. Then do it again tomorrow. Then the next day. Build a winning streak. Let your actions prove to yourself that you're someone who follows through. That's how self-trust is earned. That's the currency of self-belief. The power of personal testimony cannot be overstated. You've got to become your own best evidence. When doubt creeps in, and it will, you need to be able to look back at your own life and see proof that you can do hard things. You need evidence that you can overcome obstacles. You need a track record that demonstrates you're capable. Nobody else can give you that. You have to create it for yourself through consistent action and follow-through. Now, let me talk to you about training your mind. Your mind is going to focus on something. The question is what? Most people have trained their minds to focus on limitations. They look at a situation and immediately see all the reasons it won't work. They've developed this skill of finding problems. They're experts at identifying obstacles, and you know what? They're really good at it because they practice it every single day. What you practice, you get good at, but you can train your mind to focus on possibilities instead. You can develop the skill of seeing opportunities. You can become an expert at finding solutions. It's a choice. It's a discipline. Every time your mind automatically goes to, I can't, because, you interrupt that pattern and ask yourself, how could I? Every time you catch yourself thinking about why something won't work, you redirect your attention to how it might work. This takes practice. This takes awareness. But it's possible and it's necessary if you're going to build genuine self-belief. Here's something I want you to understand about memory. Your memory is selective. You're not remembering everything that's ever happened to you. You're remembering certain things and forgetting others. They remember the time they failed more clearly than the times they succeeded. They remember the criticism more than the compliments. They remember the rejection more than the acceptance. And over time, this selective memory creates a distorted view of who they are and what they're capable of. You've got to deliberately choose to remember your victories. Keep a record of your wins. Write them down. When you accomplish something, document it. When you overcome something, note it. When someone gives you genuine praise, save it. Build a catalog of evidence that proves you're capable, you're valuable, you're making progress. Then when doubt tries to convince you that you've never done anything worthwhile, you can pull out your evidence and prove it wrong. Become a student of your own success patterns. Look at the times in your life when you've succeeded at something. What were you doing? How were you thinking? What actions were you taking? What habits did you have? There are patterns there. You've succeeded before at different things, and if you study those successes, you'll find common threads. Maybe you succeed when you prepare thoroughly. Maybe you succeed when you ask for help. Maybe you succeed when you break big goals into smaller steps. Whatever your patterns are, identify them and then deliberately replicate them in new situations. Now I need to talk to you about your mental environment. You're surrounded by influences all day long. The news, social media, conversations with friends and family, the content you consume, the people you spend time with. All of it is either building you up or tearing you down. All of it is either expanding your sense of what's possible or contracting it. And most people are not selective about what they allow into their mental environment. They'll watch anything, listen to anything, spend time with anyone, and then they wonder why they feel discouraged and doubtful. You've got to guard your mental environment like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. If you're spending time with people who constantly complain, guess what you'll start doing? If you're consuming content that focuses on problems without solutions, guess how you'll start thinking? If you're around people who shoot down every idea and mock every ambition, guess what'll happen to your dreams? You become like the people and the content you're consistently exposed to. This doesn't mean you live in a fantasy world where you ignore real challenges. It means you're intentional about who and what gets access to your mind. It means you limit your exposure to negativity and increase your exposure to possibility. It means you spend time with people who are building something, not people who are tearing things down. It means you read books that expand your thinking, not media that contracts it. Let me give you some practical daily practices that compound into unshakable confidence. First, start your day by feeding your mind something positive before you feed it the news or social media. Read something inspiring. Listen to something educational. Set your mental tone for the day. Second, move your body. Physical activity changes your physiology, and your physiology affects your psychology. You cannot feel defeated when you're physically strong and energized. Third, work on your most important task first. Accomplish something meaningful early in the day. This creates momentum and proves to yourself that you're productive. Fourth, reflect on what went well at the end of each day. 3 things that happened that were positive. This trains your mind to look for wins. Now, there's a difference between arrogance and authentic self-belief, and it's important to understand this distinction. Arrogance is insecurity disguised as confidence. It's loud, it's defensive, and it needs to prove itself constantly. Arrogance looks down on others to feel superior. Authentic self-belief is quiet confidence rooted in competence. It doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. It doesn't require putting others down. Authentic self-belief says, I know what I'm capable of. I know the work I've put in. I know the person I'm becoming. And that's enough. When you genuinely believe in yourself, you're not threatened by other people's success. You're not comparing yourself to everyone around you. You're competing with who you were yesterday, not with who someone else is today. You celebrate other people's wins because you know there's enough success to go around. You're secure enough in yourself to give credit where it's due and to acknowledge when someone else is better than you at something. That's real confidence. Let's talk about failure for a moment. Failure is going to happen. That's not even a question. The question is what you do with it. People who don't believe in themselves see failure as evidence that they shouldn't have tried in the first place. They see it as confirmation of their inadequacy. They use it as an excuse to quit. But people who believe in themselves see failure differently. They see it as feedback. They see it as education. They see it as a necessary part of the learning process. When you believe in your ability to learn and adapt, failure becomes fuel instead of a dead end. Here's what I've observed over decades of studying successful people. They fail more than unsuccessful people. Why? Because they try more. They attempt more. They put themselves out there more. And yes, sometimes they fall flat on their face, but they get up, they adjust, they try again. Their belief in themselves isn't contingent on never failing. Their belief is based on knowing they can handle failure and keep moving forward. That's a completely different foundation. You've also got to practice acting as if you already are who you're becoming. This isn't about being fake. This is about aligning your behavior with your aspirations. If you want to be a successful business owner, start making decisions like a successful business owner would make them. If you want to be a healthy person, start doing what healthy people do. If you want to be financially free, start managing your money the way financially free people manage theirs. You grow into your aspirations by behaving consistently with them even before the results show up. Most people wait until they feel ready. They wait until they feel confident. They wait until they feel qualified. But here's the truth. You will never feel ready for something you've never done before. You will never feel fully confident attempting something new. You will never feel completely qualified for the next level. Feeling ready is not the prerequisite for action. Action is what creates the feeling of readiness. You act your way into feeling confident. You don't wait to feel confident before you act. Taking action is the greatest accelerator of belief. Every action you take in the direction of your goals strengthens your belief that you can actually achieve them. Every step forward, no matter how small, builds momentum, and momentum builds confidence. This is why people who take consistent action, even when they're scared, develop stronger self-belief than people who wait until they feel ready. Doing builds believing, not the other way around. So stop waiting. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for permission. Start building your self-belief today through small promises kept, through focusing on possibilities, through guarding your mental environment, through taking action even when you're scared. This is how you develop unshakable belief in yourself. This is how you become the kind of person who knows, deep in their bones, that they can handle whatever comes their way. You know what keeps most people small? It's not lack of talent, it's not lack of opportunity, it's the invisible ceiling they've placed over their own lives. They've decided consciously or unconsciously that there's a limit to what's possible for them. And they live their entire lives under that ceiling, never once questioning whether it's real or just something they imagined into existence. Let me tell you something fascinating. The word impossible is really just impossible with different spacing. Think about that for a moment. What you've been calling impossible might just be you recognizing your own potential but not having the courage to claim it yet. Most limitations exist only in your mind. They're not real barriers. They're mental constructs that you can choose to tear down anytime you're ready. I've studied ordinary people who achieved extraordinary results. And you know what they all have in common? They refused to accept conventional limitations. They didn't have special powers. They weren't born with some magical gift the rest of us don't have. They simply rejected the notion that they had to stay where they were. They looked at what everyone said was impossible and said, maybe for you, but not for me. That's it. That's the difference. Who you spend time with will either expand or contract your sense of possibility. If you're around people who think small, you'll think small. If you're surrounded by people who settle, you'll settle. If everyone in your circle believes life is hard and success is for other people, guess what you'll believe? But if you start spending time with people who are building businesses, creating opportunities, solving problems, and reaching for bigger things, your entire perspective shifts. You start seeing what's actually possible because you're watching people do it right in front of you. This is why you must deliberately expose yourself to bigger thinking and bolder dreamers. Read biographies of people who accomplished great things. Study success stories, not just for inspiration, but for education in what's actually achievable. When you see someone who came from nothing and built something significant, it expands your understanding of what's available to you. When you learn about someone who failed repeatedly and eventually succeeded, it changes what you believe about persistence. This isn't fantasy. This is studying the evidence of human potential. Here's a trap I see people fall into constantly. Reasonable goals. They set goals that are comfortable, achievable, and realistic. And you know what? They accomplish them, and nothing in their life really changes. They stay exactly where they are, just slightly more comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of growth. Reasonable goals don't require you to become a better person. They don't stretch you. They don't force you to develop new skills or overcome real challenges. What if you set unreasonable goals? What if you aim for something that scared you, something that required you to become someone you're not yet? That's where real growth happens. That's where transformation occurs. When you reach for something beyond your current capabilities, you're forced to expand, you're forced to learn, you're forced to grow into the person capable of achieving that goal. The goal isn't just about what you get. It's about who you become in the pursuit of it. Now, people are going to call you unrealistic. They're going to say you're dreaming too big. They're going to tell you to be more practical. And here's what you need to understand. Sometimes that's wisdom and sometimes that's fear. You need to learn the difference. When someone who's accomplished what you want to accomplish tells you something's unrealistic, listen carefully. They know the territory. But when someone who's never attempted anything significant tells you your dreams are too big, that's just their fear talking. That's them projecting their limitations onto you. Don't confuse their comfort zone with your potential. What I've learned over the years is that believing bigger compounds over time. When you stretch your thinking this year, next year's possibilities look different. When you accomplish something you thought was impossible, suddenly other impossibilities become possibilities. Your capacity expands, your confidence grows, your sense of what you can handle increases. 5 years of consistent growth in your thinking creates a version of you that would be unrecognizable to who you are today. The relationship between your goals and your growth is direct. Your goals don't just determine what you get, they determine who you become. A small goal creates small growth. A massive goal creates massive growth. You don't reach your goals and stay the same person. The reaching changes you. The attempting transforms you. Even if you fall short of a huge goal, you'll end up further ahead than if you'd accomplished a small one. Most people are living in a prison called "that's just how life is." They've accepted things as unchangeable that are actually quite changeable. They've surrendered to circumstances that could be overcome. They've made peace with mediocrity because fighting for excellence seemed too hard. But that's a choice. That's not reality. That's resignation disguised as realism. Possibility thinking isn't naive optimism. It's not. About ignoring reality or pretending challenges don't exist. It's strategic realism. It's looking at what is and asking what could be. It's acknowledging the obstacles while refusing to let them define the outcome. It's saying, yes, this is difficult, but difficult isn't the same as impossible. That's not fantasy. That's vision combined with determination. Everything worthwhile requires you to expand beyond your current limitations. Every significant achievement in your life will require you to think bigger than you're thinking now. Every meaningful goal will demand that you become more than you currently are. So the question isn't whether you need to expand your sense of possibility. The question is whether you're willing to do it. Are you willing to let go of the small story you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you can do? Are you willing to reach for something that might fail? Are you willing to look foolish to people who've already given up on their own dreams? Because everything is possible, but only if you believe it is. Only if you refuse to accept the limitations others try to place on you. Only if you're willing to think bigger, reach higher, and become more than you've ever been before. Now we come to the most important part. Everything we've talked about means nothing if it doesn't translate into how you live your daily life. Belief isn't just something you feel. It's something you do. It's something you demonstrate through your choices, your habits, your disciplines. The transformation happens when belief moves from being a concept you understand to a lifestyle you embody. Your daily disciplines are the most honest reflection of your true beliefs about yourself. You can say you believe in yourself all day long, but if you're not doing the work, if you're not showing up, if you're not following through, then you don't really believe it yet. What you do every day reveals what you truly believe about your worth and your potential. If you believe you're capable of greatness, you'll prepare for it. If you believe success is coming, you'll get ready for it. If you believe you deserve better, you'll work for it. Let me be clear about something. Belief without work is just fantasy. It's daydreaming. It's wishing. But belief combined with consistent action, that's destiny. That's how ordinary people create extraordinary lives. They believe it's possible, and then they work like it's inevitable. They don't just hope for better. They build better, one day at a time, one decision at a time, one disciplined action at a time. Here's what successful people understand that most don't. You've got to measure progress and celebrate small wins. Every step forward is evidence that you're capable. Every small victory proves you're making progress. Most people ignore their small wins because they're focused only on the big finish line, but the small wins are what build momentum. They're what keep you going when the big goal still feels far away. Document them. Acknowledge them. Let them strengthen your belief in yourself. Setbacks are going to happen. That's guaranteed. The question is whether you'll let them destroy your faith in yourself or strengthen your resolve. When things don't go as planned, and they won't always, you've got a choice. You can let that setback confirm your doubts, or you can let it refine your approach. People with unshakable self-belief don't fall apart when things go wrong. They adjust. They learn. They come back stronger because their belief isn't based on everything going perfectly. It's based on knowing they can handle whatever comes. Success isn't built in a day or a month or even a year. It's built over the long term through consistent effort and unwavering belief. This is what separates sustainable success from temporary motivation. Motivation gets you started. Belief keeps you going. Motivation is that burst of energy you feel after watching an inspiring video. Belief is what gets you out of bed on a cold morning when you don't feel like it. Belief is what keeps you working when nobody's watching and nobody's cheering and the results aren't showing up yet. You need to understand something powerful. People are watching your life. Your children, if you have them, your friends, your coworkers, people in your community, they're watching to see if it's possible. They're watching to see if someone like them can actually do something meaningful. When you believe in yourself and follow through, when you set goals and achieve them, when you overcome obstacles and keep going, you give other people permission to try. You become living proof that it can be done. That's a responsibility, but it's also a privilege. Believing in yourself is ultimately about honoring your unique potential. You were given gifts, talents, abilities that nobody else has in quite the same combination. You have experiences and perspectives that are uniquely yours. When you don't believe in yourself, when you play small, when you hold back, you're not just cheating yourself, you're cheating everyone who could benefit from what you have to offer. The world needs what you've got, but you've got to believe that first. Here's the final truth, and I need you to really hear this. Everything worthwhile in your life will require you to believe before you see. You'll have to believe you can build the business before you have the customers. You'll have to believe you can write the book before you know how the story ends. You'll have to believe you're worthy of love before the right person shows up. You'll have to believe you can change before the change appears. Faith comes before the evidence. Belief precedes the manifestation. That's how it works. So today, right now, you've got to make a decision. Are you going to keep negotiating with doubt? Are you going to keep listening to the voices that tell you to play it safe and stay small? Are you going to keep waiting for perfect conditions that will never come? Or are you going to decide once and for all that you believe in yourself, that you believe in your potential, that you believe everything is possible for someone willing to work for it? Make that decision. Stop wavering. Stop second guessing. Stop asking for permission from people who don't understand your vision. You've got one life, one shot, one opportunity to see what you're really made of, to find out what you're truly capable of, to become everything you were meant to be. Don't waste it living beneath your potential because you were too afraid to believe in yourself. Start today. Start now. Start living as someone who knows their worth and believes in their possibilities. Because you are worth believing in. Your dreams are worth pursuing. Your life is worth fighting for. And everything, absolutely everything, is possible when you believe it is and you're willing to work for it. That's not motivation. That's truth. Now go live it.